Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, that's Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can hear us on this audio streaming at Evox PBS receiver app, and you can also hear this broadcast on our shortwave frequencies, that's 12.020 megahertz, 15.640 megahertz, and 17.665 megahertz. This is your host, Jerome Toledo, and let's start Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Today on our program, we will be discussing the exclusive Citizenship Act of 2025 that was filed in U.S. Senate, particularly filed by Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno. And under that bill, it seeks to establish that U.S. citizens owe quote-unquote sole and exclusive allegiance to the United States. And the Congress finds that maintaining foreign citizenship may create conflicts of interest and divided loyalties, and that exclusive citizenship is in the national interests. And under we have a key prohibitions under that bill and requirements, particularly on an individual is prohibited from being a U.S. citizen while simultaneously possessing citizenship of any foreign country. And any U.S. citizens who are voluntarily acquires foreign citizenship after the act is enacted will be deemed to have relinquished their U.S. Citizenship. And U.S. citizens who currently hold foreign citizenship must take action within 1 year of the act's enactment. And the prohibition section, once that bill is filed or enacted and approved, will take effect 180 days after the enactment. And the Secretary of State is tasked with creating regulations for verification and record keeping. And now, how is this going to affect our Filipino Americans and Filipinos in America living and working there in that particular country, the United States of America? So to tell us more about this development, we're now being joined live via Zoom, the ambassador of the Philippines to the United States, His Excellency Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez. Good morning here from Manila, Philippines, Ambassador Romualdez. Thank you so much for joining us in the program, Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Toledo.
All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining. Okay, so on the Exclusive Citizenship Act that was filed by Senator Bernie Moreno, it explicitly targeting dual citizenships. And you recently, Ambassador Romualdez, advised Filipino Americans or Philams to exercise caution and delay renouncing their Filipino citizenship. Okay, but if this bill gains traction, does the Philippine government have a contingency plan to assist the thousands of dual citizens who might suddenly be forced to legally divest their Filipino citizenships to keep their U.S. status? But although this bill is just recently filed in the U.S. Senate.
Actually, it's not yet been filed. From what we understand, it is just about to be filed, if at all. It is just a plan that was announced by Senator Moreno of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, I think it's best to be cautious for many of our Filipino American citizens who have dual citizens, because of the fact that there is no certainty that this bill will even pass through. From what the informal discussions I had with some of our friends, they said that this has been tried before, and it did not pass through. I think the one that was very significant was in the 1950s, where the Supreme Court, as a matter of fact, has already ruled
Mm-mm.
that you cannot ask a citizen to renounce where he came from or
Mm-mm.
his citizenship from where he came from.
Mm-mm.
Aside from the fact, again, that there are quite a number of not only Filipino Americans who have dual citizens, but we have British Americans, we have most significantly Israeli American citizens, and also, as I pointed out,
Mm-mm.
even the First Lady, Mrs. Melania Trump, and her son Baron
Mm-mm.
have both dual citizens of Slovenia.
Mm-mm.
So, with that in mind, I think it would be best for many of our Filipino Americans who have dual citizens to just simply wait and see whether this bill will go through. And mainly
Mm-mm.
because of the fact that if you are already a dual citizen,
Mm-mm.
we would advise you not to immediately renounce your citizenship, Filipino citizenship, because it is in our laws that if you renounce it, then you can never get it back. That's already part of the law that has been passed on the dual citizenship.
Mm-mm.
So that is the reason why we are telling our citizens to just simply wait and see
Mm-mm.
whether this bill will go through.
Mm. And this bill, Ambassador Romualdez, is unprecedented because, as you mentioned, there's a 1950. I think I have here the 1952 U.S. Supreme Court ruling regarding that to address the dual citizenship issue. Ambassador.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. That's the reason why I think that there'll be a lot of challenges that will be legal challenges that will be filed about this bill. And there's quite a number. As I said, it's not only Filipino Americans, but there are many other citizens of different nationalities that have dual citizenships here in the United States. So, again, it is best to just simply wait and see whether this bill will push through. Nonetheless, as the bill, as you pointed it out, that you have 180 days or a year actually to even
Yes.
decide
Mm-hmm.
once if that bill passes through.
Mm-hmm. And of course, according to the systems or the rules of a government there in the United States, this bill will be filed by U.S. Senate, and then once this bill has been discussed in the plenary, there it will escalate or will. It will be turned over to the U.S. House of Representatives for more discussions.
Correct. Yes, correct. Yes.
And eventually,
And
once yes, go ahead.
yes, so it is going to be a long process, and usually in the House, where you have a number of representatives
Yeah.
who have large communities. Again, not only Filipino Americans but other communities, will definitely most likely question the wisdom of having such a bill on this.
All right.
But as I said, nothing is written in stone, so we don't know what can happen.
Right, right. All right. But hypothetically, Ambassador Romualdez, if this bill passes, will the Philippine government create a fast track repatriation or visa process for the thousands of PhilAms who might choose?
There's no need for that one because they have a choice. If they decide to renounce their citizenship, their Filipino citizens, it's very easy. You can just go to the consulate, and I assume that if you have some kind of sign something and then you renounce your citizenship, and that's it. If you decide not to renounce your citizenship, therefore you lose your American citizenship, then more than welcome to go back to the Philippines, of course. But as I said, again, it has to be studied carefully because there are many advantages of having Filipino citizenship because of the fact that we have laws regarding, for instance, owning property and so forth and so on. So these are things I think that will be considered by many of the Filipino Americans. But again, it's all up in the air. So there's really nothing to be so concerned about it in that sense because this is up for discussion and it'll take some time before you can, if anything at all, would happen on this bill.
All right, all right. I would like to ask Ambassador Romualdez, what benefits that American citizens, or particularly Filipino with American citizenship, may lose if he loses or relinquish his citizenship as an American?
Well, I don't think they really will lose. I mean, of course, the fact that if you have no citizenship in the United States, obviously you have to leave the country, unless, of course, you can get a permanent status of some sort.
Mm-mm.
But the advantages, obviously, if you live here in the United States, there's a great advantage of you to become an American citizen completely. That is if this bill passes through.
Mm-mm.
So you have to weigh where your stronger roots are, so to speak.
Mm.
There are some Filipinos, of course, who are planning to retire in the Philippines at some point in time after they finish when they come to retirement age.
Yeah.
So that will definitely make a big difference in their decision on
Mm.
whether to maintain their American citizenship or not.
Mm, okay. But of course, there's fears among Filipino green card holders who are not yet citizens that their path to naturalization might soon be required them to completely sever ties with the Philippines.
Well, that is again speculation.
Mm,
There's already right now. I think the move of the U.S. immigration is that you have to really establish the fact that you are a permanent resident of the United States. They already are aware of the fact that sometimes many citizens of other countries with permanent status just stay here for the required 6 months, then they go home and stay 6 months. I think they're discouraging that. They would
mm-mm,
rather that you either stay here at the full number of months or years that you're supposed to. In other words, establish residence and the fact that you pay your taxes here,
mm-mm.
or you just simply lose your green card. Remember, as far as the U.S. State Department is concerned, having a green card is still considered to be a privilege that's given to
That's
any
right.
individual.
That's right. Right. A green card, holding a green card visa or the U.S. visa is a privilege. It's not a right, ambassador, and
That's correct.
and Filipinos living and working in America who possess that visa must comply with regulations with the U.S. government.
That's correct. So, I've always advised many of our kababayans that really, at the end of the day, which is what we try to do in our consulates, is that we give them as much information as possible on what are the legalities surrounding permanent status, even other visas that are given to you, student visas, H-1B, so forth and so on,
Mm-hmm.
and what are the legal paths that you can take to be able to either stay and live in the United States, or again, as I've said, if there is no legal path, then it is best that you leave the United States voluntarily so that you will have an opportunity to come back
Mm-hmm.
and be able to apply for a visa that will let you either stay
Mm-mm.
legally, permanently, or at least have a tourist or a business visa. There's also the fact that there are many citizens who may have permanent status already,
Mm-mm.
but if they were involved in any kind of criminal activity, whether it's a simple thing as shoplifting, that can show in the record, and the United States has every right to cancel your permanent status and deport you for any kind of misdemeanor whatsoever. If that is the new policy that they have adopted, then there's not much that you can do. However, we have already asked many of those volunteer lawyers, Filipino American lawyers, of course, that have volunteered,
Mm-hmm.
to see and look at ways to be able to keep some of them and use the legal system to be able to let them stay. But again, it is a it's a chance that they take,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes if your status is neither here nor there, you can be detained. And being in a detention center obviously is not only inconvenient, but it is also like being in a prison.
I see. All right. But I have a question here, Ambassador Romualdez. So I would like to get your thoughts on this. So, how do you respond to the rhetoric that Filipino Americans cannot be 100% loyal to the United States while maintaining their cultural and legal ties to the Philippines?
Well, the reason why we have very strong ties with the United States is because of what we call the people-to-people ties.
Mm,
I think that this thing is really considered to be the reason why many Filipinos look at the United States as our closest friend and ally.
Mm.
That is really a given already right now, precisely because of the fact that many Filipino Americans hold dual citizens. But again, there are many other countries that have the same.
Mm.
For instance, the Israeli American citizens is a big example of allegiance to both countries.
Yeah.
There are many Israeli citizens who are Americans who live in the United States, but they go back to Israel and serve in their armed forces.
Mm.
So I mean, this is an example that is clearly shows that they can be loyal to both their country of birth, perhaps,
Mm.
and at the same time their adopted country.
Mm.
So again, these are arguments that are being made, and this is arguments that were already presented, of course, in the legal courts here in the United States.
Mm.
So we will just have to wait and see on how this whole thing develops, and see whether the legalities that have been expressed during the 1950s will still hold up to today.
Mm.
Perhaps it may not, because there's the new era and new immigration policies that have been put in place. It can also be an offshoot of many developments that have happened here in the United States, like what happened not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, where an Afghan citizen gunned down two members of the National Guard,
Right.
which created a big backlash as far as those being given asylum and citizenship or potentials of citizens here in the United States.
All right. But regarding that point, Ambassador Romualdez, I would like to ask, do you have any updates regarding as mentioned by U.S. President Donald Trump, the list of third world countries that will be banned from entering the United States?
Yes, there are actually 30 countries that have been already named, and we're not one of them.
Oh, okay.
These are countries that are considered to have potential terrorists groups that may come into the United States. So they're very strict about that, and I think the Trump administration, even during the first Trump administration, first term of President Trump, there was already such a thing as blacklisting countries that they see have potentials of sending in people with visas that may do harm to American citizens.
I see. Okay. All right. Down to my last question, but still regarding this topic, Ambassador Romualdez. So, you said before that we have leverage because of our defense alliance, and at the same time, you mentioned earlier we have strong people-to-people ties with Washington. So, can we use the EDCA sites and also our existing military cooperation with the United States as a bargaining chip to the U.S. government to address this dual citizenship issue? Should this prosper?
Well, I don't believe in bargaining chips. It is a question of what is mutually beneficial for both our countries. Right now, the reason why we have EDCA sites is because it is beneficial for us to have an ally like the United States join forces with us in facing the challenges that we have, especially in the South China Sea. This is part of our defense strategy. So all of that is again, and the United States obviously sees the Philippines as an important ally at this time, where they also feel in their own interest that the Indo-Pacific region should be free and clear of any dominant power controlling the area. But because of that relationship, this is where it is more like, and in my many discussions that I've had with many of our friends, especially in the U.S. Congress, is that we would like to be able to work with them on issues surrounding immigration, of course, and clearly the U.S. Specifically officials here in the United States, congressmen, local officials, they look at Filipinos as good working, hard-working people, and that is the image that we have. And that is and again, because of the people-to-people ties, we have such a an image with many Americans here in the United States. We
Mm.
would like to keep it that way. And
Mm.
so we don't want to be able to have to be in a situation where we are known to be of such characters, which we don't want.
Mm. Right.
And so I think it's important for us to point it out that while we empathize with those that have legal problems as far as immigration is concerned,
Mm.
and we would like very much to help them in every way we can, we also have to face the fact that there is certain rules and regulations that the government of President Trump has put in place that now requires really stringent rules to be followed as far as legally staying in the United States.
Mm.
And so this is the reason why we have to work with them. But for us to go to them and say, look, we're giving you all of these EDCA sites, that's not quite a good argument because as far as we're concerned and both our countries are concerned, it's beneficial for both of us at this point in time because of the challenges we face.
Mm, I see. Okay. And as you mentioned, this is a wait and see development, and this bill is a long process. So we will have to wait for
Yeah,
these
it will take time.
developments.
Yeah, it will take time, and
Yeah.
there is no really there's no need to be to
Mm.
panic about this because we're following it, of course,
Mm.
very closely because I know there are a lot of Filipinos inquiring about this. But I
Mm.
would encourage them, for those who have already filed for dual citizen, it's very easy for you to decide later on if you decide to renounce your Filipino citizen rather than
Mm.
renounce it right now where
Mm.
there is no bill yet. Because, like I said,
Mm.
once you renounce your Filipino citizenship, you can't get it back
Mm.
anymore.
Mm. So they have to consider what they're planning in the near future. And since
Exactly.
this citizenship issue is a big issue in America right now.
Well, it is to a certain extent because
Yeah.
there are many. Like I said, we're not the only ones
Mm.
who have the same situation where we have dual citizens.
I see. But before I let you go, Ambassador Romualdez, let me take this opportunity to ask you this question regarding our economic ties with the United States. So, how where are we now when it comes to negotiating the 19% tariff rate? Since the government is still, as mentioned in previous interviews, that the Philippines is still negotiating to lower down the tariff. Where are we now?
Actually, lowering it down is not really what we're doing anymore. It's more of having exemptions for many of the products that we feel is important for both our countries. Again, negotiations are really more of a quid pro quo. So we give them this, they give us something else. There's already a list that has been approved for no tariff exemptions from tariff, many agricultural products, and we're working to get
Mm-mm.
other areas where we can get exemptions. So
Mm-mm.
this is work in progress, and hopefully we'll be able to finish most of this by early next year. Most likely
Mm-mm.
in the first quarter of next year, we probably will have a something that will be again a good trade agreement that we'll sign with the United States.
And we will have a better trade agreements with Washington. Okay, great. All right, so would like to ask one more before I let you go. So, how is the American businesses or how is American investors viewing now the ongoing investigation with the flood control project and corruption issue in the Philippines? How is the American investors there seeing the developments here in the Philippines?
Well, obviously, for those that have invested already in the Philippines, they would like to see this investigation's progress and to come to a rightful conclusion. Uh, and they've already indicated on many occasions the corruption issues surrounding other institutions in the Philippines, and I think we've already taken stock of that.
Mm-mm.
Secretary Go, who's now our new finance secretary, I'm sure will do a very good job at it because
Mm-mm.
being the finance secretary, I think he'll have more latitude in being able to correct some of the things that needs to be corrected. Because we can lose out with our ASEAN neighbors if we do not curb corruption. Like I said, it's been going on for such a long time.
Mm.
Maybe the way to look at it is that this is the silver lining in the cloud, that now there's an opportunity for us to really clean it up, so to speak, and bring down the corruption levels in our country.
All right, very well said. Okay, and with that, thank you so much for joining us in the program to provide a detailed response regarding the proposed dual citizenship bill filed by Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno and some other issues that we discussed just now. Thank you so much, Ambassador Jose
All right,
Manuel
thank you.
Romualdez, for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was Ambassador Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez, our Philippine ambassador to the United States of America. And front and center, we'll be right back after these messages.
Paano nga ba mag-register para magkaroon ng schedule sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center? Narito ang mga dapat gawin. Gamit ang iyong mobile device, pumunta sa eGovPH app. Pwede itong i-download mula sa Apple App Store o sa Google Play Store. Gumawa ng account. Ilagay ang email address, valid mobile number, pagkatapos ay makakatanggap ka ng one-time code sa iyong email. Gamitin ang code sa eGov app para sa verification ng iyong account at ng mga impormasyong ibinigay. Congratulations! Meron ka ng eGovPH app account. Pwede mo na ma-access ang iba't ibang serbisyo ng gobyerno kabilang ang mga serbisyo sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center.
Mabilis ang trivia, dagdag talino. Heto na ang Dagling Kaalaman.
Madalas ka bang magpuyat at kulang sa tulog? Lumalabas sa pag-aaral na ang madalas sa pagpupuyat at laging kulang sa tulog ay nakakaapekto sa iyong kalusugan, partikular sa iyong puso at metabolismo. Maaari itong maging sanhi ng hypertension, mataas na kolesterol, stroke, heart attack, obesity, diabetes at iba pa. Kaya tandaan, sleep well, live well.
Kaunting kaalaman na malaking dagdag talino. Abangan muli ang susunod na Dagling Kaalaman.
Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo, and we're down to a few minutes of our program. But we would like to have the discussion regarding the reenacted budget. How is this affecting our economy in general? Because there's a rumor that the 2026 budget will not be or might not be approved on time because due to issues on budget insertion. So how is this affecting our economy in general? So to discuss regarding this topic, we now have the chief economist of Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, none other than Mr. Michael Ricafort. Good morning, Sir Mike. Thank you so much again for joining us in the program.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Jerome, and to your viewers. Nice to be back.
Okay, thank you. All right, so although there's some rumors that the 2026 national budget may not be approved on time, and we will end up on a reenacted budget. So the budget will be implementing will be from the 2025, from the current year. So my question, Mr. Ricafort, so how would operating under a reenacted budget affect the country's economic growth trajectory for 2025, particularly in terms of investor confidence, business planning, and the overall climate for private sector investments?
That's true for all that you mentioned, Mr. Jerome, that, more than the math behind that, behind any reenacted budget, it's really the confidence also by on the economy, because definitely government spending is one of the biggest contributors to economic growth. And the budget for next year, for 2026, the estimate is a growth of 7.4% to 6.793 trillion. That's almost 7 trillion. That's equivalent to 22% of our economy. So that's large. If you do away with that growth, Mr. Jerome, without that 7.4% growth, with a reenacted budget same as the one for 2025 for this year at 6.326 trillion. So this would slow down outright mathematically. If you're doing the calculations, the Philippine GDP growth could slow down by 1.6 percentage points.
That's large.
Meaning to say, yeah, that's large. Yeah, actually, this is not, well, that risk it happened already in previous administrations, maybe for the past
In
10
twen-
to 20 years. We have experienced that already. But as much as possible, well, the previous administrations, they learned that lesson really well because it really dragged economic growth. It slowed down the GDP growth. For instance, if next year, the estimate for next year is a GDP growth of, it's possible to see 5.5% to 6%. You have to deduct 1.6 percentage points from that. Meaning to say, the 5.5% to 6% growth next year would just go down to a little less than 4%. Maybe around 3.9% to around 4.4%.
Okay, and that's gonna have a lot of impact on budgeting programs, particularly in health sector, in defense sector, and the boosting our economy, Mr. Michael.
Yeah, true. That would be the impact. Yeah, we did the math for the country, for the whole economy. Well, of course, at the grassroots, they're gonna feel that, the adverse impact of that in the, well, hard-hit government departments and agencies that would not receive the incremental budgets. It would mean less infrastructure projects, less social services, especially those that would impact the poorest of the poor, that would try to elevate more of them, and and other services of the government per se, because it's depriving that 7.4% growth. That's kind of, well, it's faster than GDP growth because that's the reality of how to manage the Philippine economy. Government spending is a major force. It's one of the major growth drivers for our country's economy. Because, of course, that would translate to creation of more, of course,
More
spending
jobs.
on infrastructure, on social services. Well, on infrastructure, of course, they create jobs, they create opportunities for those in the supply chains, those in the social services. Of course, the poorest of the poor, it would deprive them of the basic services being provided, the increments of which, of course, there may still be a reenacted budget will still provide similar to this year, but what would deprive them would be the growth or the increase in the budget. Of course, taking into account inflation, the increase in prices. That's the minimum that can be done. That's the reason for the increase also. And of course, definitely that would drive the economy and of course the confidence surrounding which we have seen that when the latest economic data was lower than expected at 4% last month when it was announced. It's the slowest since the pandemic. We would see, if the growth would be kind of slow, if 4% was the last in the third quarter, a reenacted budget would lead to growth similar to what we saw in that. And that's the slowest like during the height of the pandemic. The 4% was the slowest since the first quarter of 2021. Imagine. So that's the impact, Mr. Jerome. It would, that's if you do the math, and of course, that would be felt by the agencies, the respective
Indeed.
government agencies. And, it's an investment approach in, given the limited funds of the government, we have budget deficits, so there's always need to borrow, of course, to finance the budget deficit. And all the more now that, of course, the policy priority is to further stimulate growth. And especially now, especially if there's fiscal space, there's monetary policy space. So that would be the policy priority, Mr. Jerome.
All right.
And this includes a timely approval of the national budget. But I'm sure the country has learned from this, no?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, different administrations. The
Well,
risk of a reenacted budget is not really that favorable when it
and
comes
mhm.
to investor
And
confidence and the
all
actual
right,
growth data.
and it's not good for business, Mr. Michael Ricafort.
Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to slow things down.
Uh-huh.
Inevitably, there would be uh, parts of many businesses, industries that are part of the supply chains and the value chains of the various government projects, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's infrastructure, social services. So it would mean slower business for them. It would also mean less jobs, less business opportunities, less transaction. And,
Well,
government has been a good driver for many years when it comes to
right.
growing our economy, especially now, for us to maximize the favorable demographics of the country. We
Mm-hmm.
need to
Okay.
really boost the productivity of our population, especially
Mm.
education.
Right. Right.
Of course, the nutrition for them to, to sustain their schooling and finish schooling and not drop out, and the
Mm.
other healthcare, other social services, well, and especially the mission critical ones
Mm.
pertaining to
Okay.
the various DSWD programs. So the objective of which, of course, is
Yeah.
to elevate, uh, well, as many people out of poverty. If there will be
Mm-mm.
more educated people, we deploy the best technologies to
Mm-mm.
enhance productivity of, on
But
education, on
mm-mm.
agriculture, on
Right.
manufacturing. Bottom line is to boost output using the best technologies around the
Mm-mm.
world, and improve productivity, boost output, improve the local supply situation,
W-
and eventually, if you have more supply, it would bring down prices, help bring down inflation.
Right.
So,
But
these are very important things.
well. Mm-hmm.
The incremental budget would
That's right.
definitely help
Mm.
solve that, to
Mm-mm.
solve a lot of those
All right. All right.
problems.
I agree with you, Mr. Mercafort. But anyway, I have 1 minute left here in the program. What risk should the public and policymakers prepare for if the budget impasse extends further? So, what's your call to action to our lawmakers, Mr. Ricafort, to approve this 2026 budget on time?
Well, of course, it's usually it starts from the leadership of the country if it's deemed urgent,
Mm-mm.
and of course, right now this is a critical juncture time
Mm-mm.
to implement and also prioritize reforms pertaining to improving governance,
Mm-mm.
anti-corruption measures, and other important reforms, including fiscal reform measures to improve the finances of the country, and of course, more importantly, that's very important. Amid the political noise right now, to fix the problems it all started, of course, well, acknowledging during the SONA
Mm-mm.
the problems on corruption, and now really doing the solutions on which, of course, there's this
Mm-mm.
catch-up program. That's very important, Mr. Jerome. That's
Mm-mm.
a very important booster for confidence for both the financial markets, meaning to say the stock markets, the bond markets, the currency markets, the local financial markets, and of course the broader economy. Fundamentally, that's part of the action, well, the mitigating action.
Mm-mm.
Whatever slowdown that the country may have seen in the third quarter,
Mm-mm. All right.
due to these measures to prevent corruption,
Mm-mm.
and going forward, the reforms to improve governance standards. So that's
Mm.
what the countries,
Mm.
the investors around the
That's right.
world are,
Mm-mm.
and whole countries looking forward to.
Right.
That gives hope also, and
Mm-mm.
the catch-up spending, and you can only do the catch-up spending with
Mm-mm.
the timely approval of the national budget with a 7.4% growth at
Mm-mm.
almost 8 trillion.
All right.
That's 22% of the economy. So that's bottom
Mm.
line. Well, learning from the lessons also of in the previous administrations for the past 10 to 20 years, the reenacted budget would slow things
All
down.
right.
So, well,
Mm-hmm.
given that, it's really the urgency that's
Okay.
really very important.
Okay.
Balancing all those important factors plus
Mm-hmm.
the priority reform measures
Wo-
pertaining to
Right.
governance and
That's right.
anti-corruption.
That's right. All right. Okay. Very well said. And with that, thank you so much, Mr. Michael Ricafort, the Chief Economist of the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jerome, and to your viewers. Have a pleasant morning, everyone.
All right. And with that interview of the program, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service, together with our technical team headed by Ms. Susan Aizon. Also on our Warcast, we have Justine Osias, and audio streaming, we have Mr. Leo Magpayo. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.